community of country captains, of volunteers. We're building a series of mobilisations, including our Sweat for Soap, which is a campaign we're running this week, hint, hint, and a coalition of companies like investors, policymakers, and others. And our goal is to get 200 companies to commit to action on water by the UN's first summit on water in over 50 years. We've got 18 months to make it.
Just to kind of learn, how do you solve climate and biodiversity and ecological problems when governments who set the rules are not taking notice of the scientific facts? So what I'm doing now, my company is called Bioeconomy, 44 trillion, up to OECD projections of $120 trillion flow every year, free of charge, from the environment and ecosystems to the economy, the GDP of the world. And so our job is just to get 1% to loop back to nature. So I often use the
smokestacks in Latrobe Valley. And so our old model of electricity is going to be completely blown up by cheaper provision of power, the ability to store it on site, and the fact that it's modular, that you can have it on your roof, that you can have it in your garage. We're going to go from what it was traditionally.
So, what do I want to achieve today? I really want to make you aware of some data. We hear so often things like, we've come so far, we're really making great progress, it just takes time for women to work their way through the system. Well, let's look at the data. The 2021 Chief Executive Women Senior Executive Census released last month showed just 6% of Australian companies in the ASX 300 have women CEOs. Only 1 out of 23 CEO appointments in the ASX. Frankly, I was the first female managing director of the ABC for 85 years, and I hope it doesn't take another 85 years for the next one to be appointed. Thanks so much.
Misleading the public, promoting hateful and harmful content, holding its CEO to account.
So if you make big, purposeful promises in the form of your purpose statements today, which a lot of companies are doing, and in Facebook's case, to basically bring the world closer together for a better world, you better deliver. Because if you don't, your own employees today will actually call in the regulators. That's how extreme this has become. So we spent 5 years
I feel like the area that I'm kind of working in is the same, but it's been called a whole lot of different things in the time I've been involved. So when I first started and you talked about ethics in business, most people thought of it as grounded in philosophy. It's a hard word for my daughter to write, but ethics in philosophy. Often talked about morals, and that actually made the conversation really uncomfortable because morals are personal. So we have moved. I think then we got into CSR, corporate social responsibility was quite a thing. And then they dropped the S and called it corporate responsibility because they didn't want it to be stuck with social. Then we went a bit Yankee and went to corporate citizenship, even with the Z, which I got to change over. Then companies started doing like all these value statements, and I got into that. I was the head of integrity office at Macquarie. Then the accountants came in with the triple bottom line, trying to kind of marry it up. Risk, reputational risk, but mostly attached to brand. ESG surfaced quite early. I did a fiduciary duty, so the lawyers came in. I'm a lawyer by background. That has been a really good anchor to pull. Then we had the rise of SRI, socially responsible investment, but also just responsible investment. Ethical investment, yay, ethics came back and has become more socially acceptable to use. Sustainability, of course, has become massive, and my work falls in that. Impact, very good, getting towards measurement. I feel trust, which I got on the bandwagon. I've written a book with a Professor Social License, which I'm really into. I'm happy with this development. I'm super passionate about public interest, which we're hearing more about. So what does actually the citizen and the public think? Going to the new type of CEO that we had in the last purpose. I feel like purpose is ethics as well. And then I finally come back to ethics. I think we talk a lot about ethics in business now, but it's more applied than the philosophical.
I'm balanced with this stuff, but the point I want to get across is a lot of the stuff that people say or frame China as aggressive towards needs to be looked at through a particular lens. So this is China in its particular geographic reality, right? It's surrounded by 14 countries, 5 of whom are nuclear powers. You can see down there between the Philippines, that's the South China Sea, like down there, where 80% of China's energy imports sort of come in and out of. And I thought it was really interesting. The landmass of China is approximately the same size as Australia. So if you overlay Australia onto China's geographic reality, you begin to see the particular security challenges that China has. So, you know, up north in sort of town.
That their day-to-day life is hard. Yeah, and then today, I don't know if you saw, but I mean, this is my worst nightmare. During the masks campaign in the US, I was working with Republican senators, I was working with Democrat senators, I was trying to make it a bipartisan thing. I thought it was critical. I got Donald Trump briefed. He actually said some reasonably positive remarks about masks early on in like late March, early April last year. But I watched as it fell apart and became politicized. Looks like the same's about to happen for protecting children in Australia. The Deputy Premier.
Thank you, Rory. That really was the perfect ending. If I think where we started with Mina saying that there's no goal that's too impossible for us to set, and then finishing with what you did, and not to give up after the first few days, I think is incredibly inspiring. And yeah, I think what you finished with in terms of human connection is what is so special. And today, virtually, it's just been wonderful as a community just to hear everything. So many inspiring stories about what everyone is doing. I think